Hey everybody, this is James. You're watching my channel, CAD Roll Hunter. We're back with pennies. Hey folks, thanks for joining me on my channel here. We've got 21 rolls of pennies. I actually got these from two different banks. These ones came from one bank, and then these other 11 here came from another bank. So I figured 21, that seems to be good for a hunt. We've got a mix of pennies here, some older copper. There's a Lincoln Memorial cent as well. I can see there's some newer shiny, that's actually like 90s. This one we can't see much, but there's a couple of sort of shinier, newer enders there. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'll probably start with the ones that look like they could be newer, but once we get into the rolls, we'll find out exactly what's in here. So here we go. Well, I've laid down roll number one, and it looks like we're going to have a really good mix of some older copper and maybe some newer. These are probably more of the steel or zinc cents, and they look like there's some pretty shiny examples here. So maybe we'll find some oldies and some goodies. And just before we get started, I brought out my big copper bin here from my recent penny hunt. So I'll be separating out anything that is copper in Canadian pennies. That's anything before 1997. So 1996 and before are copper. So they'll go in there. But I'm going to be checking for errors, varieties, any rare coins, of course. I'll post a link up in the top corner to some recent videos that we've done where I found a 1985 pointed 5. That's something I hadn't found before. So we're just going to see what we can find. We're in the roll number one here, and we've got a 1983, and one of the varieties we can check for this is a near bead or far bead variety. So I'll throw it under the scope, and we'll have a look here. And this is the far bead. What we're looking for is the difference between these beads are fairly far away from the rim, and the near beads are probably half the distance to the rim. So that's a variety that you can find. Neither is particularly rare, but it's something you can look for to round out your collection. All right, still in roll number one, we've got our first laureate portrait. We can see it right here, and we'll flip this over. And we have ourselves a 1956. So this is our first coin for the board. We'll just put it right down in our finds. This is our sort of zinc and steel discard pile. Same roll, and we've got a 1967 commemorative coin with the rock dove. This is the 100 years of Confederation, which means we can scope it and we can look for a couple of varieties. One is any doubling that we find on the date, and I don't see any here. The other one we can look at is the double die on the obverse, particularly noticeable on the legend here. You would see some doubling, particularly around the G, which I don't see there either. Same roll, and it looks like we're going to have some Lincoln cents to add to the board. The first one here is a 1986. Let's be sure about that. Yeah, a 1986. And we got a 1993. And one that looks a little bit older here. A 1955 Denver. That is our first wheat cent of the hunt, which is pretty awesome. We'll put that over here on the board. That's a great find. Same roll, we got a 1985. This is the blunt 5. You can see by the 5. I'll scope it so we can see really clearly. And it's got the blunt or straight 5. The pointed 5 is the one we want to find. I found one a little while ago. I'll just post a link up top here to that video. It's the only one I've ever found, but you never know what we're going to find in them there rolls. Roll number 2, second coin in, and we got another laureate portrait, and this one is a 1962. Same roll, and I can see we got another laureate portrait here just sort of peeking out from behind, and this one is a 1963 to add to our board. We're in roll number 3. We got a couple Americans here. One is just a 63D. It's brown, but it's actually in pretty decent condition. And then what looks to be a newer one here is a 1984. Same roll, and we found a gorgeous 1975. I will definitely be putting this one aside. It looks to be fantastic. Same roll, and we have another laureate portrait. It's a 1964, and it looks to have some kind of spotting and damage on it, but we'll always put these aside in our finds. We're just at the end of roll number 5, and I can see here another laureate portrait coin here. And when I flip it over, it's another 1964. We're a few coins in, and we found another laureate portrait Elizabeth. This one is a 1961. A couple of coins later, we got another one. This looks like it might be a little bit older. It's hard to tell, of course. Nope, it's just a 64. Same roll, I've just got a 1979 under the scope, and off camera, I've been scoping most of these late 60s and 70s coins. There is doubling on many of them. The 1979 particularly, you can find doubling on just the 9, just the 79, the 979, or the full date. And so if I find any of those, I'll let you know. The 69s, the 78s, the 79s are particularly bad for that. You can find more information on the Coins in Canada website. I'll have that down in the description below, the link to that site. If I find any of those, I'll let you know. I found a bunch looking through some of my rolls. I'm going to put out a video in the future where we look through some rolls I haven't yet looked at to see if we find any of these penny varieties. Same roll, we got another one here. We'll see what this one is. This is another 64. Roll number 7, and we've got a really gorgeous looking 1968. Roll number 8, and I put a 1979 under the scope here because I think we found one of the minor varieties with the doubling. The bottom of the 9 here, you can see what looks like maybe a bit of a shadow, but when I flip it around, you can actually see this line here, and this is consistent with the double 9 variety. In the more significant ones, you would see that carried over onto the other numbers. There might be a slight little bit at the tip of that 7, but this is really that double 9 variety. So I'll put this aside in our finds, and we'll keep looking to see if we can find any others. Hopefully we'll find something that's even more significant. This is a minor variety. This isn't significantly valuable. This is just something collectors have found as they put their coins under the scope, but it's just something interesting that you can add to your collection. Same roll, and it looks like we've got an older Lincoln Memorial copper, and I'll just pick it up here and we'll see what we got. And it is a 1974 Philadelphia. Roll number 8, and I just laid this down, and we can see here that we've got another wheat cent from the States. This would be our second one. This one is a 1955 Philadelphia. Same roll, we got a really nice looking 1979, which we can now throw under the scope and see if we have any of that doubling on the date. And it doesn't appear that we do at all. I'll give it a little rotate, and no, we don't see anything there. We got a 1982 Lincoln penny here, and 1982 is a transition year. There were zinc cents and copper cents. This one has the look of a copper cent, but if we want to know for sure, we can actually throw it on our scale. It should weigh 3.1 something grams. There we go. If it's copper, if it's zinc, it'll weigh 2.5. And so we got a copper one we can put in the copper pile. It's also a year that has a couple of varieties. This is the large date variety. There's a small date and a large date, and it's the small date D copper that is the really rare one. We're still in the same roll, and I've just pulled up a 1978 that I've thrown under the scope. This is the 1978 with the double 8 and double 7. So you can see just the doubling along the base of the 8, and sometimes it's even more pronounced, and you can see it along the bottom of the 7 there too. So again, this is just a minor variety. I don't see any doubling on the 9, so this is the doubled 7-8 variety. I pulled up a 2003. This is the old portrait with the P. That P composition mark means it's steel, but there were a certain number of these that were actually made of zinc and then aren't magnetic. So with my handy dandy milk jug magnet, I can guarantee or verify that this is actually steel because it was picked up by the magnet. So it's not the rare variety, but that's one you'll want to look out for too. We're still in roll number 9, and we got another laureate portrait. This time it's a 1961. Same roll, we found another one. So far we've only found one in the 50s. The rest have all been in the 60s. And this one here is another 1963. Same roll and a gorgeous looking 1972. Same roll, we've been finding a fair number of copper American Lincoln Memorial cents. And this one here is a really nice looking 1960D. Roll number 10, second coin in. We got another laureate portrait, 1963. Got a little bit of corrosion on the front here. And yeah, we've got a fair number of these so far now. Same roll this time. It's another 63. Same roll, we're going to have another one. What's it going to be this time? Another 1964. Roll number 10, we got our first foreign aside from American pennies. This one is a 1 cent. It's quite light. From Trinidad and Tobago, 1977. So we'll add that to our board as our first foreign find. Roll number 11, we got another laureate portrait here. And this one is another 1963. We're finding lots of those in here. I've just pulled up another 1983 here, and this one is the actual near bead variety. On the right, you can see how much closer the beads are. I'm just comparing it to another 1983 we found earlier that was the far bead variety. So you can see these ones are quite a bit closer than those ones. I've got a 1976 here that I wanted to show you because there is a minor variety in the 1976s, and that is a rotated die. So normally with this metal orientation, if I just rotated this on the axis where my fingers are, the queen's head would be straight up and down. This variety has a bit of a rotation. There might be varying degrees of rotation, but this one here isn't significant. I'm going to just pause for a second and flip it. And as it's rotated, you can see it's really just slight. This might be 10 degrees. There are other varieties or other severities of this you might find where the rotation might vary more significantly like this. Most of them are straight up and down like that, but this one's slight, maybe 10 degrees or so. Same roll, and we found our oldest yet. It's a 1952. This is going to be a King George VI set. We'll flip it over, and there he is. Excellent. Roll number 16, and we got another laureate portrait here, a 1964 to add to our pile. Same roll, and we got another oldie to add to the pile, another 1955. That's our second 55 in this one. And just towards the end of that roll, we found ourselves another 1964 laureate portrait. Roll number 18, and our very first coin is another 1961. Same roll, she's just peeking out at me. We'll get this one out of the way and see what we got here. It's a 1960. It's our first 1960 of the hunt. Roll number 19, and we found an oldie and a goodie. This is the oldest one of the hunt so far. It's a 1946 King George VI. Check that out. That's a beaut. Same roll, and we found another oldie here. It's obverse facing, so we're just going to have to flip this over, and it's another 1946. Roll number 20, and we're not done yet. We've got another laureate portrait. This time, it's a 1963. I got another 1979, and when I throw it under the scope here, we can see that we've got another variety. This is the double 9 and double 7. So if I just rotate it around, you can kind of see it a little bit better. But you can see the bottom edge of that 9 is doubled, the bottom edge of that 7 is doubled, and nothing significant, just a tiny little bit on the other 9. But that's another one of those varieties. Same roll, another 1979. And this one's actually maybe a little bit more evident on the base of the 9. I'll just flip it around a little bit. The base of the 7. It almost looks like you can see some of the doubling on the side of this 9 here, but it's really pronounced on the 9 and the 7. We're on the last roll, roll number 21. If we find something, I'll bring you in. If not, we'll do a wrap up. Well, we're in that last roll, and we got another oldie here, another 64. Well, we have concluded our hunt. 21 rolls hunted. We got a whole lot of copper for the copper basket here. And it was a great hunt. We found lots of good stuff. We found 52 US pennies, a good amount of copper here. And that includes a couple of wheat cents. We got a 1955 and a 1955D. So that's pretty awesome to add to the collection. We also found a Trinidad and Tobago 1977 1 cent. That's our only foreign outside of the US. And then we found some really good stuff here. We got a couple of 1946 and a 1952. Those were our 3 King George VI pennies. And in the laureate portrait, we got a couple of 56s, a couple of 55s, a 56, a 60. We got 3 61s, 1 62. We got 6 1963s and 8 1964s. We found a few really nice looking coins, a 68, 72, 75, a 78, and a couple of 79s in still pretty red condition. And then we even found some minor varieties. We found some 1978s and 79s that had doubling on the numbers, on the dates. And then we found a couple of 1976s that are rotated die. Not significant, but maybe 10 or so percent, enough to be noticeable. And so that was a pretty good hunt. I really hope you enjoyed my video. Again, please subscribe to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter. Hit the notification icon to see when my new videos are coming out. I've got new videos coming out all the time. I appreciate it if you like the video. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope to see you again.